9, talking about the closing. Let's read this. It says, the closing of the sale will be on or before set date. And we'll talk about the dates here. Or within 7 days after objections made under paragraph 6D have been cured, waived, whichever date is later, closing date. So this date is what our target date is. I always tell my clients this is our target closing date in a perfect world. We can close before this, but if we close after this date, we do need an amendment. But this is not a hard date. It's our goal, because who's responsible for the closing? The money has to be there, right? A few other things have to be done, and things happen. So just so you can set expectation, yeah, this is our goal to close on this date, on or before this date. But if we have to close after, we can. It's called an amendment, all right? So looking at this, when you're setting a closing date, be careful to not set closing dates on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and look for holidays, all right? Because title companies are not open on the weekends. Also, title companies also keep bank hours, and the buyer can't get access to the property until two things are done. All documents are signed and it's funded, okay? So if you had someone and the last person came and signed all their documents and it was Friday at 4:30, more than likely, yeah, the documents are signed, but the money hasn't made over because the bank is shut down, and they won't be able to do that possibly until Monday. So you got to wait until Monday, and heaven forbid Monday's a holiday. Then you got to make till Tuesday. So you got somebody homeless living out of their car, for days if you play that game. So I always make sure my closing dates are Monday through Thursday, all right? So that way that person has their weekend so they can move in. Or if something happens outside of your control, if it was on a Monday, you got Tuesday to rectify it. You know what I mean? You got time to rectify it before you have a whole weekend of what's going on. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. Also, you want to check with your lender on the closing date as well to allow for enough time to close. Say, for example, if it's a cash deal, you know the cash is coming from your buyer. So you want to talk to your client, hey, Mr. Buyer, are you okay with closing 15 days? I've seen 15 days or less, But if you're dealing with a cash buyer, you also want to know if they're Mr. Buyer, do you want a survey, and do you want a appraisal? You know what I mean? That would prolong it as well. If they want a survey and appraisal, you might as well back that bad boy back up to 30, or contact the title company and see how quickly they can get that stuff ordered if they're, everything's running in timely fashion. But if you're dealing with a cash buyer, generally you can get that stuff quicker because they can get a survey at any time, right? So that doesn't have to hold it up. If you're dealing with someone that has a loan, you want to talk to the lender and see how quick, make sure we're on track. Generally, it's about 30 days. If you got a good lender, you're 30 days or less, ideally, for FHA, VA, conventional, the standard types of loans. However, if you have someone that's doing a standard type of loan, but they're also getting like down payment assistance, some type of program, that could extend the time frame for closing as well. So those might be I would say about like an additional 15 days. So I would do maybe 45 days in that retrospect. But to be safe, talk to your lender and see what they're thinking on the time frame if you do have a loan, okay? That's pretty much that. Let me make sure I got my points touched on that. Check with the lender. Make sure you're allowing for enough time for the closing. Except for that, remember, don't set it for weekends and holidays, and look out for that stuff, all right? Now, at closing, pretty much B is talking about outlining the party's responsibilities at closing. For the most part, let me sum all this up for you. One thing, the seller shall execute and deliver general home warranty deed along with a tax certificate showing no taxes are delinquent on the property. Basically, clear title. Buyer will pay the sales price. Then it also says pretty much both parties will sign whatever documents are necessary to effect the sale and deliver clear title to the buyer. This right here is pretty much saying no outstanding liens, encumbrances of the seller. All encumbrances and liens will be satisfied at closing. Say, for example, they had a loan, the mortgages and everything will be taken out of the proceeds, and it'll be satisfied at closing. Private transfer. This is talking about, let's say, for example, property sold subject to existing leases or transfer security deposit, transfer from HOA transfer fee, that's all going to be taken care of at closing as well. Or if you're purchasing a home that had a lease on it and that tenant had some security money, that money's going to go to you, the buyer. Just kind of sum and all that stuff. They're going to transfer any funds and stuff that now go to you, the new owner, or the new buyer, the buyer who is now the new owner. All right, so that kind of sums up paragraph 9. If you have any questions, please let me know.